Welcome again to the University of Chicago. Welcome to our graduating students, and equally to you parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, siblings and friends, including the many who couldn't be here today but whose hearts are with us. Families, I honor you for your sustaining investments of love, support, expectation, and care, and for the gift of your students. My name is James Evans, Max Pilevsky Professor of Sociology and Data Science and faculty in the college. My wife, Jeannie Evans, and our colleagues, Professors Jennifer Iverson and Steve Rinks from the music department, serve as resident deans over the houses in which your students spent their first years. In the gorgeous white building designed by the architect Jeannie Gang that forms the northern gateway to campus. Many of the resident heads who lived alongside your students are here with us today as well. So to begin a little roll call to you students, who of our graduates began at UN House? What was that? Are they here? UN House. Thank you. Okay. Thank Garage House. Boyer House. Someone showed up. Strongen. Dugan Nicholson. Rogers. Bihar House. Trot. All right. Graduates, I honor you for the tests and projects and papers and bibliographies that were the preludes to your diploma, but far more for who you have become and what you will do. I live here, and it's been the privilege to raise our children, the youngest of whom graduated from high school 2 days ago, alongside your students. I've watched their minds at work, pressing University President Paul Alvasados in our home on the ethics of universities' global investments, probing the nature of goodness with New York Times columnist David Brooks, or conflict in the Middle East with David Nuremberg. I've seen their imaginations at play, composing a Nintendo-themed opera at Scav, the world's largest scavenger hunt. I've seen the quality of their hearts, tutoring kids in under-resourced Chicago schools, carrying one another through personal tragedy, sitting up all night for a struggling friend, reaching again and again to do more than they thought possible. My home office is right across the courtyard from their all-night study room. I'm up earlier than they are, but they are up much later. Graduates, I honor you, and I enjoin you today as you once entered to learn alone, now go forth to learn together. The University of Chicago is a special place. My favorite UChicago t-shirt captures it. That's all well and good in practice, but how does it work in theory? For all its abstraction, Chicago education has always been about something larger, the confidence that our flights of imagination become blueprints for the future. As the psychologist Kurt Lewin put it, there is nothing as practical as a good theory. I study how the planet comes to know things together. You've spent years being tested and graded alone. For most of you, that will never happen again. In the world you're entering, ensembles rule. In 1907, Francis Galton watched 800 people at the English country fair guess the weight of an ox. Farmers, butchers, auctioneers, veterinarians, each hoping to win the meat. The ox weighed 1,198 imperial pounds. The average of all their guesses was 1,197 pounds, closer than any single expert in the crowd. No one knew the answer, but the crowd knew the answer. It knew more together. As you leave this season of artificial solitude, what are the principles of knowing together that will let you thrive when the ground shifts beneath your feet? First, be kind. In 1938, a homeless 15-year-old named Walter Pitts arrived in Chicago. He had taught himself logic, mathematics, Greek, and Latin, and he introduced himself to the visiting professors, philosophers Bertrand Russell and Rudolf Carnap, by handing them their own books annotated with devastating critiques. But it was 3 years later, Warren McCulloch, a warm, big-hearted psychiatrist, initially from the UIC and then later at Chicago, who simply took Pitts into his home. Out of that kindness and collaboration came the first mathematical model of a neural network, the seed of the technology now reshaping the world. The machines we argue about today were born from one person making room for another. Second, listen. A team of researchers, friends of mine, once tested hundreds of groups on problem solving and found something startling. A group success had almost no relationship to the intelligence of its smartest member. What predicted collective intelligence was simpler. whether the members listened, whether they took short and roughly equal turns in conversation, and the proportion of women in the group who tended to do both. Those groups could act on more of what they collectively knew. Listening is not simply politeness, it's the mechanism by which a group becomes wiser than anyone in it. Third, reverence difference. In a study of millions of Wikipedia edits, I found that the articles built by ideologically diverse contributors, conservatives and liberals, arguing it out, were consistently the highest in quality. Difference, not disagreement, produced the better accounts. But difference matters for more than being right. In a time of real division, I'd ask you to do something harder than tolerate difference, to revere it, to wish the happiness of people who do not share your values, and to stay open to their best ideas. That openness is not weakness. It is where surprise and growth emerge. Fourth, celebrate failure. In a recent study, we found that the strongest early signals of eventual success in any domain is the acceleration of your own failures. A salesman once walked into the office of IBM's Tom Watson, expecting to be fined after losing the company $5 million. Watson said, "Why would I fire you? I just spent $5 million on your education." Failure is how the new arrives. We reason about the world, we act, and when we are surprised to find we were wrong, and we and the people around us imagine the alternatives that make the surprises unsurprising. The philosopher Charles Sanders Peirce called this abduction, and it accounts for most of what is truly original. And making something new together invites us, and invites you to let others claim the glory. Goethe asked, "Who was the happiest of men?" and answered, "He who values the merits of others and takes joy in their pleasure as though it were his own." Others' joy becomes our own. Others' thoughts are our thoughts, giving away the credit we know more. Your time at UChicago has been important, I hope transformative, but your education in the world and your contribution to the world's education begins today. You are graduating into real uncertainty, contested borders, a changing landscape of work, learning machines. But the people who flourish in this moment will be the ones who do what no model can, who are kind, who listen, who celebrate difference, who fail forward and carry others with them. Those capacities are already yours, and they are what this moment asks for. You won't merely look for a place in the world, you will make new places. Plutarch said that education is not the filling of a pot, but the kindling of a fire. The facts you learned here will age and grow obsolete. I hope you make them so. But knowing how to spark something with others, how to turn your difference and your failures into explosive new potential, you will never lose. Here at the University of Chicago, I see the spark. Graduates, go and ignite the world. Everything depends on it. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Rings. I'm a music professor here at the university, as well as a resident dean in Campus North, a role I share with my partner Jennifer Iverson, who unfortunately can't be here today. Right now, I'm delighted to introduce our first of two student speakers. Daniel Luna hails from the Bronx, but he has made Campus North his home for 4 years in Thangaraj House. He's a triple major in computer science, math, and data science. He's also worked as a tech in humanities computing. He actually helped me in that role. That was how I first got to know Daniel. And also as a peer tutor in the math department. In his spare time, he loves to cook and to write, and we're going to hear some evidence of the latter right now. Please join me in welcoming Daniel Luna.
Dear faculty, staff, parents, family, and most importantly, my fellow members of the class of 2026. When Steve and Jennifer asked us to choose a story that defined our time here, I did what most of us would probably do. I opened my Photos app. I found nearly 11,000 pictures and videos on my phone. the digital footprint of my college experience. Somehow, around 1,000 of them were taken on the Campus North quad alone. As I scrolled, the memories came rushing back. There was the hyperactive blur of O Week, where we were welcomed by OAs possessing a level of energy I still cannot comprehend. There was the house painting competition, which convinced many of us that perhaps art was not our calling. There were the photos of my countless baker meals, mystery meat included, and the whiteboards across North, covered in my frantic scribbles ranging from French conjugations to organic chemistry mechanisms to mathematical theorems I absolutely could not prove. I found a picture of my desk dominated by a half-built Lego McLaren Formula One car that on a random Tuesday afternoon felt vastly more urgent than whatever reading I was supposed to be doing. There were these tragic screenshots of broken code refusing to compile for the 50th time. And then there was the infamous attempt a few friends and I made at baking cookies, which produced something far better suited for construction than consumption. Naturally, we tried again exactly 1 year later, and somehow achieved the exact same result. To everyone's relief, neither attempt triggered the fire alarms. Though, speaking of the 3 a.m. fire alarms, whoever you are, I genuinely hope you finally learned how to use a microwave. As the scroll continued, the seasons changed. My first Chicago winter, my first Chicago spring, the squirrels and the geese that eventually became my neighbors. There were the pictures of my corkboard slowly filling with little mementos, and between all of those photos were the moments that never got documented at all. The house council meetings, the conversations on the lounge couch that lasted until sunrise, the awkward elevator silences, the laughs, and the tears. That was my journey. But I imagine that hearing this probably reminds many of you of the similar albums sitting in your own pockets right now. And in looking back, I realized something surprising. One story is not enough to explain what Campus North was, because for many of us, it became something much bigger than just a dorm. Now, I should admit something. I lived in North for all 4 years. Yet, for a very long time, I stubbornly refused to call it home. For me, home was a fixed coordinate on a map. It was the Bronx. It was my parents, my brother, my neighborhood, my childhood. My dorm room was just a place where I slept and I kept my stuff. It took me 4 years to realize the 17-year-old me was completely wrong. Because home is not just a physical structure with 4 walls and a roof. Home is the place where you are allowed to become someone new. And more importantly, home is the place where you are allowed to fail safely. Out on the main quad, where we just sat moments ago in our caps and gowns, we were expected to have the right answers every day. We were expected to defend arguments brilliantly, balance impossible equations, translate ancient texts flawlessly, and somehow write code that actually runs. Out there, the stakes were always enormous. But inside our house, we had a safety net. Sometimes it was our friends, sometimes our RAs or RHs, or the person sitting next to us at the lounge at 2 in the morning also trying to figure things out. North became the place where our economic models could collapse, our philosophical arguments could fall apart halfway through a sentence, our lab reports could overwhelm us, and yes, our cookies could burn. When we did fail, we knew there were people right down the hall ready to help us put the pieces back together. Today, I feel incredibly lucky to say that during this chapter of my life, I had 2 homes. In a few moments, I will walk across this stage and receive a diploma certifying that I completed 3 majors. But it does not capture the professors, friends, staff, family, or roommates, or even the late night conversations that made any of it possible. Because here is the single most important lesson I'm going to take away with me from these last 4 years. Every achievement rests upon the people and the places that give us the courage to keep going when we fail. That is what home really is. And as we leave this place and begin building lives in new cities, new classrooms, new careers, new communities, I hope we build them with the same grace, safety, patience, and care that we cultivated here with one another. To the class of 2026, as we pack up the exact same suitcases we dragged into the lobby 4 years ago, we're leaving the physical building behind. But the memories and the resilience that we built through failure, the homes we created in each other, those come with us for the rest of our lives. Congratulations, everyone. We did it. Thank you.
you. My name is Jeannie Evans. I'm also one of the resident deans, along with James in Campus Northeast, and it's my pleasure to be here with you today. It will be our privilege to hear from our next student speaker, who is from Boyer House, Augustine Boutelier. Augustine is majored in economics, minored in data science, and upon graduation, he plans to move to New York, where he will be working at Morgan Stanley and doing fixed income trading. Thank you.
God, that's a long walk. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. For those I have not met yet, my name is Agustin. And for the first time in 4 years, I don't need to introduce myself as a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior. I can proudly say that I'm a graduate of the University of Chicago, just like all of you. When I first arrived at UChicago, I thought I knew exactly what success looked like. Grades, internships, resumes, and proving that I belonged, surrounded by incredibly smart people. But over the last 4 years, I realized the moments that shaped me most were not when I felt certain. They were the moments when I felt challenged, uncomfortable, and humbled. I'll never forget my first social science inquiry class in fall quarter of freshman year, where my first homework had to be coded in R. Not only did it feel like I had already skipped an entire coding language, but I also felt behind already, and we were barely getting started. Even going back to iHouse afterwards, my friends and I would stand by the whiteboards that they had put up in their rooms debating ideas like we were philosophers solving the world's problems. It felt unbelievably nerdy, but I kind of liked it. Starting at UChicago felt like being thrown into the deep end, but I think that is exactly the point. Looking back now, UChicago is not just a place that teaches you what to think, it teaches you how to think, as cliche as that sounds. And maybe more importantly, it teaches you how to question yourself. There were classes where I walked in confident and walked out realizing how little I actually knew. There were 2 a.m. conversations in the reg, debates over coffee, impossible readings. Seriously, Dante, how many layers of hell do we really need?
Before I get to that, I just want to mention a little bit more about how these houses run. At the center of each of them are resident heads, or RHs. These are faculty, graduate students, staff, and their families who share their lives with their residents. They are essential members of the campus housing community, and no one has worked harder this year. They are here in our stage party. Let's recognize them now. So you'll meet some of them in a minute. I will ask a resident head from each house to come up and announce when the next house's graduates will be processing across the stage to receive their diplomas. So the order of the houses is going to be alphabetical. Here they are. There are 8 houses in Campus North: Bihar, Boyer, Dugan-Nicholson, Rogers, Strongen, Thangaraj, Trott, and UN. So I will invite Lisa Moore up to get things started in a moment. First, I will say graduates. When you hear your name and cross the stage, the resident dean will shake your hand and give you your diploma cover. Then pause for a photo with us here. And then you will continue on to get your actual diploma when you leave the stage. So let's now honor the graduates of 2026.
Now we have the graduates of Bihar House.
Adam Basaria, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Tamar Yonina Chevelle, Bachelor of Arts in Human Rights, Bachelor of Arts in Gender and Sexuality Studies. Ana Amelia Davalos, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Romance, Languages, and Literatures. Carolina Maria Dorosh, Bachelor of Science in Biological Chemistry, Bachelor of Arts in Romance, Languages, and Literatures. Alexandra Dracopoulou, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Data Science, minor in Anthropology. Nicholas Park Emerton, Bachelor of Science in Data Science, Bachelor of Arts in Sociology. Christopher Lawrence Fraser, Bachelor of Science in Data Science, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Kimaya Goge, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Francisca Giuliani, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies, minor in Education and Society, minor in Data Science. Yihan Li, Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, Bachelor of Arts in Data Science. Ana Sofia Meza, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Data Science, minor in French. Violet Noel Reed, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Master of Arts in Social Sciences. Annabelle Shen, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences, minor in Visual Arts. Sophia Shen, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Yatong Huang, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Cognitive Science. Mehek Jain, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Cinema and Media Studies, minor in Data Science. Miguel Orellana Jr., Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Bachelor of Arts in Cognitive Science. Alexis P. Veldehouse, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Data Science.
And now the graduates of Boyer House.
Michael Lewis Armstrong, Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science, minor in Astronomy and Astrophysics. Addison Anthony Arnholt, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies. Louise Demarini Smith-Bully, Bachelor of Arts in Visual Arts, Bachelor of Arts in Art History. Augustine Baudelaire, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Data Science. Hannah Elizabeth Chen, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in History. Tiffany Cheng, Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics, minor in Statistics. Jalen Zachary Chrysos, Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics, Master of Science in Mathematics. Alexis Angelina Clark, Bachelor of Arts in Global Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. William Paul DeBar, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Alyssa Kelly Dang, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in East Asian Languages and Civilizations, minor in Health and Society. Sebastian Dean Williams Davis. Lily Alicia Fu, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Data Science. Martin Luis Garicano, Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics, Bachelor of Arts in Classical Studies. Caitlin McCrae Gross, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies. Mary Jane Henry, Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science. Natalia Bella Hobaugh, Bachelor of Arts in Neuroscience, Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy and Allied Fields. Yimeng Jiang, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Bachelor of Arts in Statistics. William Paik Johnson, Bachelor of Arts in Art History, Bachelor of Arts in Comparative Literature. Dhruv Mohan Kapoor, Bachelor of Science in Computational and Applied Mathematics, Bachelor of Arts in Statistics. Min Seo Kim, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies. Sophia Noel Casanes, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, minor in Quantitative Social Analysis, minor in Russian and East European Studies. Alessandro Le Cavalier, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Data Science. Michael Junhui Lee, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Keith Barkin Late, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Evan Lee, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Stephanie Rachel Lamache Lopes, Bachelor of Arts in Creative Writing, Bachelor of Arts in Visual Arts, Bachelor of Arts in Human Rights. Filippo Martini, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Evan Bhupendra Mathura, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, Bachelor of Arts in South Asian Languages and Civilizations. Tyler James McBride, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Caden Joseph Nix, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies, minor in Race, Diaspora, and Indigeneity. Isis Victoria Ordonez, Bachelor of Science in Astrophysics, Bachelor of Science in Geophysical Sciences. Armin Ryan Pazuki, Bachelor of Arts in Professional Option, Medicine, MD in Medicine. Silken Blaze Pierce, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Music. Eli Masit Rapport, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Priti Anjana Srinivasan, Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences, Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. Madeline LaSalle Turney, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Guido Alessandro Trevisan, Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics. Jinming Wang, Bachelor of Arts in Neuroscience, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Amber Charlotte Anastasia Williams, Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences. Caroline Margaret Workman, Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science, minor in Environment, Geography, and Urbanization. Nandi Shu, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Science in Data Science. Catherine Lucy Ye, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Theater and Performance Studies. Ryan Koldziai, Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science.
And now the graduates of Dugan Nicholson House.
Rosemary Aceves, Bachelor of Arts in Environment, Geography, and Urbanization, minor in Architectural Studies, minor in Geographic Information Science. Alejandro Xian Alonso, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, minor in Astronomy and Astrophysics. Khan Asker, Bachelor of Arts in Middle Eastern Studies. Ria Bhagat, Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences, minor in English and Creative Writing. Audrey Carol Brunner, Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature, Bachelor of Arts in Religious Studies. Terrence Yan Tao Chan, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Benjamin Alexander Chaplin, Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science. Dario Cruz Rodriguez, Bachelor of Arts in Data Science, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies. Wilkin and Manuel de los Santos, Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science. Ha Queen Do, Bachelor of Science in Astrophysics, Bachelor of Arts in Race, Diaspora, and Indigeneity. Lola Isabel Flores, Bachelor of Arts in Classical Studies. Kieran Foglino, Bachelor of Arts in Linguistics, minor in Statistics, minor in Media Arts and Design. Nadia Alexandra Fontes-Mers, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, minor in Visual Arts. Monica Rose Gould, Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences, minor in Statistics. James Alexander Hagen, Bachelor of Arts in Germanic Studies, Bachelor of Arts in History. Yordi Hernandez Miranda, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Philip Vincent Horrigan, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. George Huerta, Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience. Emma Elizabeth Kelly, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Classical Studies. Sean Chan-woo Kook, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Arjun Ramesh Kulkarni, Bachelor of Science in Physics, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Kai Alexander Lee, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, minor in Computational Neuroscience. Jessica Elizabeth Lewis, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Jacqueline Katrina Pacheco Lopez, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences, minor in Health and Society. Sandy Angelica Lopez, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, minor in Science Communication and Public Discourse. Rocky Leah Lowenthal, Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, Master of Science in Chemistry, minor in Science Communication and Public Discourse. Alexander Niels Malm, Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, minor in Data Science, Master of Arts in Social Sciences. Victor Elizer Marquez Meletite, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, Bachelor of Arts in Comparative Human Development, minor in Education and Society. Arya Avnine, Bachelor of Science in Chemistry. George Robert Notley, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Salvador David Ochoa, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences. Reem Omar Abdu Omar, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, Bachelor of Arts in Comparative Human Development. Adam J. Palmer, Bachelor of Arts in History, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Devin Connor Phelan, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Computer Science. Shanta Olivia Ramdas, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Miles Kofi Bryant Rollins Waterman, Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science, minor in Religious Studies. James Mitchell Rosenberger, Bachelor of Science in Computational and Applied Mathematics, Bachelor of Science in Statistics, Master of Science in Financial Mathematics. Simon Signorel, Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics, Bachelor of Arts in Classical Studies. Aryan Alok Srivastava, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, minor in Education and Society, Master of Science in Computer Science. Lisa Salome, Bachelor of Science in Physics. Miles Edward Spees, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Astronomy and Astrophysics, minor in Data Science. Christopher Lynn Sweet, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Vanessa Marie Vaz, Bachelor of Science in Molecular Engineering, minor in Religious Studies. Noah Bernard Vetter, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences. Junhui Yu, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Rongping Zhou, Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics. Jacob Louis Zuckerman, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, Bachelor of Arts in History. Rachel Lena Zuckerman, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences, Bachelor of Arts in Neuroscience.
And now, the graduates from Rogers House.
Yasmin Hassan Ali, Bachelor of Arts in Global Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Middle Eastern Studies. Isabel Alia Arias, Bachelor of Arts in Law, Letters, and Society, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Alexandra Liberty Grace Bodmer, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology. Ryan Elaine Jelani Cataret Manier, Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics, Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy. Isabella Yuna Chang, Bachelor of Arts in Neuroscience, minor in English and Creative Writing. Xu Kai Chow, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Danielle C. Dean, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Law, Letters, and Society, minor in English and Creative Writing. Orion Alexander Douglas, Bachelor of Arts in Environment, Geography, and Urbanization, Bachelor of Arts in Global Studies, minor in Geographic Information Science. Gabriela Maria Fernandez, Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature, Master of Arts in Humanities. Kira Avery Grossfield, Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature, minor in History, Master of Arts in Humanities. Sylvia Guevara Martinez, Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science, Bachelor of Arts in Media Arts and Design. Jade Irma Henningberg, Bachelor of Arts in History, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Callie Elizabeth Konstantinakos, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences. Harris Lentz, Bachelor of Arts in Fundamentals, Issues and Texts. Grace Lee, Bachelor of Arts in Cognitive Science, minor in Architectural Studies, minor in Data Science. BJ Moses Rosenthal, Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, minor in Computer Science, Master of Arts in Social Sciences. Keval Shaurabh Shah, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Data Science. Ray Tung, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Master of Science in Computer Science, minor in Environment, Geography, and Urbanization. Natalie Young, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Cognitive Science. Ashley Hua Ju, Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, Bachelor of Science in Biological Chemistry, minor in Science Communication and Public Discourse.
And now the graduates of Strongen House.
Sareen Madiat Ali, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, minor in South Asian Languages and Civilizations. Ariel Christina Alain, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Data Science. Arjun Singh Bath, Bachelor of Arts in Fundamentals, Issues and Texts, Bachelor of Arts in Germanic Studies, Bachelor of Arts in South Asian Languages and Civilizations. Amelia Jane Cook, Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, Master of Science in Chemistry. Runjit Sui, Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Raquel Christine Dawson, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Visual Arts. Meklet Gedechu Damos, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, Bachelor of Arts in Global Studies, minor in Health and Society. Alexander Joseph DeRosa, Bachelor of Science in Physics, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy and Allied Fields. Pascal André Decalange, Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics, Bachelor of Arts in History, Master of Science in Mathematics. Adeline Marie Diaz, Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science. Charles Mayer Eden, Bachelor of Arts in Data Science, Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy. Ayla Adela Eichler, Bachelor of Arts in Cognitive Science, Bachelor of Arts in Visual Arts. John Patrick Foley, Bachelor of Arts in Romance Languages and Literatures, Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature. Avery Grace Galucci, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in East Asian Languages and Civilizations. Nevin Faulkner Hall, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Medieval Studies. Sonny George Francis Hayes, Bachelor of Arts in Media Arts and Design, Bachelor of Arts in Cinema and Media Studies. Amelia Jane Koenig, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Inequality, Social Problems and Change. Lei Tran Kong Hong, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Zach Owen Meyer, Bachelor of Arts in Cognitive Science. Caroline Clemens Midkeff, Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature, Bachelor of Arts in Creative Writing. Estefania Montserrat, Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy and Allied Fields, minor in Democracy Studies. Maya Grace Paloma, Bachelor of Arts in Creative Writing. Cale Thomas Patton, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Brooke Rose Pedersen, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Cinema and Media Studies. Mateo Lorenzo Perez, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in History. Sebastian Justo Perez, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies. John E. Ponce, Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Tanvi Rao, Bachelor of Science in Physics, minor in Quantum Information Science. David Sugiyama Ra, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Visual Arts. Isabella Marie Romeu, Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature, Bachelor of Arts in Global Studies.
That I don't know. I'm just doing it for university.
Inigo Sanchez Sen Domenech, Bachelor of Science in Molecular Engineering, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Hunter T. Schultz, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, Bachelor of Arts in History. Bernard Lee Shen, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Advaita Sood, Bachelor of Arts in Economics.
Oh, it's everything fast.
Abhigya Talwar, Bachelor of Arts in Economics.
How do you go to the, so go to your camera. That's how you've been recording?
Alexander Nicholas von Kumberg, Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences, minor in History. Andrew Wong, Bachelor of Arts in Statistics, Bachelor of Arts in Mathematics, Master of Science in Statistics.
Oh, yeah.
Jiayue Wang, Bachelor of Arts in Anthropology, Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science, Bachelor of Arts in Archaeology. Serendipity Vega Welsh, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, Bachelor of Arts in Human Rights, Master of Arts in International Relations. Xian Xie, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Astronomy and Astrophysics.
Exactly like that. You should be fine.
Gavin Michael Ibarra, Bachelor of Science in
undo it
Biological
all.
Chemistry, minor in Visual Arts.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe you can go back
Yui
and
Man Richmond Young,
upload it to
Bachelor
regular
of
speed
Science
somehow,
in
like on the
Physics.
internet. Other than that, yeah. You might have just missed them all.
Han Zhang,
It's okay.
Bachelor of
You got it in
Science in
time lapse, though. You
Mathematics,
still got it,
Bachelor of Arts in Data Science.
Yeah. That.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce the graduates of Thongarage House.
Yeah.
Maxwell Taylor, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science.
I'm not
Bachelor
sure
of
about
Arts in
like,
Race,
how to get to a
Diaspora, and
copy, but
Indigeneity.
I'm sorry.
Ethan Hahn, Bachelor of Arts in English.
Oh no, it's okay. You gotta just enjoy the moment now. You know, just enjoy it. It's okay.
Jason Chang, Bachelor of Arts in
Okay, yeah,
Economics,
don't worry.
minor
I
in
hope you
Health
get
and
it.
Society.
Of course. I'm sorry. I
Siddhant
hope you
Jari, Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, minor in Music. Zhang Hui Chen, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Ryan Thomas Clark, Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy. Destiny Beatriz Degante, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, Bachelor of Arts in Comparative Human Development. Gabriel Maximiliano Diaz, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Science in Data Science. Brianna Eve Duty, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Global Studies. Samantha Elizalde, Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, minor in Health and Society. Tanasia Fair, Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science. Blake Caden Faulkner, Bachelor of Arts in Statistics. Noah Andrew Gallett, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in English and Creative Writing. Alex Joel Gomez, Bachelor of Arts in Global Studies. Niara Elizabeth Brady, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Race, Diaspora, and Indigeneity. Bianca Viola Jortner, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Cognitive Science. Daniel Luna, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, Bachelor of Science in Data Science. Yueqi Mei, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, Bachelor of Science in Data Science. Sumininu Victoria Onabanjo, Bachelor of Science in Data Science. Lena Sarah Spar, Bachelor of Arts in Cognitive Science, Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy. Leila Hanan Sharif, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences. Xiaomeng Shi, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Science in Data Science. Isabella Sophia Nialasami, Bachelor of Arts in Data Science, minor in Statistics, minor in Astronomy and Astrophysics. Yannick J. Sanjo Tani, Bachelor of Science in Data Science, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Hannah Elizabeth Thomas, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, Bachelor of Arts in Latin American and Caribbean Studies, Master of Arts in Social Sciences. Gabriel Kai Torres, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in History. Jimena Valverde Bencor, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies, minor in Education and Society, Master of Arts in Social Sciences. Kai Zachary Walsh, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Aiden Calvin Rice Wearies, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, Bachelor of Arts in Creative Writing. Muyan Xie, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Ravi Yalamanchili, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Yuha Yu, Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Guanchen Zhu, Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences, Bachelor of Science in Biological Chemistry, Master of Science in Chemistry.
And now the graduates from Trot House.
Firas A. Osanabani, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Chemistry. Ali Vida Alvarez, Bachelor of Arts in Law, Letters in Society, minor in History. Janaya Adriana Brown, Bachelor of Arts in Comparative Human Development. Mateo Kaloya, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Valerie Lale Champagne, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Armand Pierre Huibon Hua Chen, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Data Science. Kimberly Chavez, Bachelor of Arts in Law, Letters, and Society, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies. Ka-Hin Chen, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Statistics. Jerry Yu-J Cho, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Kayla Chu-Shin Sui, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Visual Arts. Vedant Dangayach, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Computer Science. Corinne Raqueta Mitchell de Sion, Bachelor of Arts in Fundamentals, Issues and Texts, Bachelor of Arts in Comparative Literature, Bachelor of Arts in Gender and Sexuality Studies. Huangshin Yang Dang, Bachelor of Arts in Fundamentals, Issues and Texts, Bachelor of Arts in Religious Studies, minor in Music. Amy Jimena Diaz, Bachelor of Arts in Neuroscience, minor in Cognitive Science. Joseph L. Grabli, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Leila Monet Ellis, Bachelor of Arts in Data Science. Jonas Gruznias, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Aiden James Jensen, Bachelor of Science in Physics, minor in Music. Eamon Richard Kana, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in History. Adrian Muya Kingori, Bachelor of Science in Biological Chemistry. Ella Christina Kobiluk, Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature. Lane Olivia Kohler, Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences. Yanis Kutupez Jesus, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy. Gabriel Conador, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Master of Arts in Social Sciences. Lin Tuo Han Li, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Statistics. Yu Jia Li, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Si Chi Liu, Bachelor of Science in Physics, Bachelor of Science in Applied Mathematics, minor in Visual Arts. Zhe Jiang Liu, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Aiden John Long, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Data Science. Andres Lopez Forastier, Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science, Bachelor of Arts in Cognitive Science. Alan Lucas, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science. Justin Monk, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Data Science. Shannon Monk, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Health and Society. Samantha Arthin Momtazi, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences. Isaiah Benjamin Moncrief, Bachelor of Arts in Public Policy Studies, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. George Ruffin Moretz, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Cinema and Media Studies. Eyal Noy, Bachelor of Science in Physics, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Obuto S. Obeta, Bachelor of Arts in Cognitive Science, Bachelor of Arts in Linguistics. Alexandra Ada Reza, Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy and Allied Fields, Master of Arts in Social Sciences. Arya Sapra, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Computer Science. Edelawit Sasahula, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Sophia Catherine Sasaki, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences, minor in Health and Society. Melanie Silva, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences, minor in Data Science. Emilian Jean Hector Spizzichino, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Astronomy and Astrophysics, minor in Architectural Studies. Andy Sun, Bachelor of Arts in History, Bachelor of Arts in Fundamentals, Issues and Texts. Justin Andrew Vander, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Eleanor Marie Villamy, Bachelor of Arts in Neuroscience, Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. Rachel M. Wiley, Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences, minor in Human Rights. Ro Chung-woo, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Science in Data Science. Hao Jun-yang, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Darian Hongjiang, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Zhou Y. Zhang, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Media Arts and Design. Willow Zhu, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Music, minor in Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Wenshu Harriet Zhu, Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy, Bachelor of Arts in Data Science. James Oscar Joyce, Bachelor of Arts in Political Science.
And now, the graduates of UN House.
Anthony Alvarez Reyes, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences. Ingrid Shah Appen, Bachelor of Science in Molecular Engineering. John Arthur Butka, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Data Science. Charlie Castro, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Nina Chang, Bachelor of Science in Physics. Anna Mitchell Chard, Bachelor of Arts in Law, Letters and Society, minor in Philosophy. Charlie Alasdair Dodd, Bachelor of Arts in East Asian Languages and Civilizations, Bachelor of Arts in Religious Studies. Eric Edward Eli, Bachelor of Arts in Computer Science, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Luisana Encarnacion Amador, Bachelor of Arts in Comparative Human Development, minor in Spanish. Alex Ramiro Garcia, Bachelor of Science in Molecular Engineering. Michael Thomas Gladden, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Cognitive Science. Naeun Ko, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science. Vivian Qingqing Li, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Grace Liu, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, Master of Science in Computer Science. Claire Kamini Malhotra, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences, Bachelor of Science in Data Science. Rachel Maya, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy. Mac Minter, Bachelor of Arts in English Language and Literature, Bachelor of Arts in Media Arts and Design. Melody Muthoni Mwangi, Bachelor of Arts in Biological Sciences, minor in History, Philosophy, and Social Studies of Science and Medicine. Chris Benjamin Reyes Soto, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, minor in Media Arts and Design. Jack Ambers Sharp, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Arts in Astrophysics. Advait Shivaram, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, minor in Art History. Xiaoyu Chen, Bachelor of Science in Physics, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Bo Wen Peng, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Bachelor of Science in Statistics. Zihao Chen, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience. Shunjia Zhang, Bachelor of Science in Computer Science, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. Tianyi Zhang, Bachelor of Arts in Physics, Bachelor of Arts in Economics. Trunrong Zhu, Bachelor of Arts in Economics, Bachelor of Science in Mathematics, Bachelor of Arts in Music, Master of Arts in Economics.
Class of 2026, the moment has arrived. You are now graduates of the University of Chicago. Don't throw those yet. You've got to flip the tassel. Get the tassel on the right side now, too. Don't do it yet. We're not ready. I'm just preparing you. So, I hope that you are justly proud of this great achievement. As you soak in this moment, also reflect on the people who supported you throughout this journey in ways large and small. They are with you today. So, graduates, please stand up, turn around, and face your friends and family, and thank them for helping you reach this milestone with a big round of applause. Graduates, please remain standing, but turn around and face me. Now, flip your tassel from right to left. That makes it official. Bask in this joyous moment. We wish you a weekend of jubilant celebration with your loved ones. With that, our diploma ceremony has reached its conclusion. You can recess after the stage party. Thank you, be well, and congratulations again, class of 2026.